A router is a versatile and powerful tool, but if you use it wrong, it can be very dangerous.
My name is Justin, and I build my own speakers. Let's start off by showing the correct way to use a router mounted in a router table. So I've got a 3/8 of an inch roundover bit with a bearing mounted inside the router, which is then secured to the router table. And if you zoom in real close, you can see that there is an arrow on the router table that indicates the direction that the router spins. The idea is to push the workpiece in the opposite direction of that arrow. Now let's see how that looks when I take this 3/8 of an inch bit and put a roundover on the speaker enclosure that I'm building. Notice that I'm pushing in the direction against the spin. I'm pushing into the cutting bit instead of working with the bit. I'm pushing against it instead of working with it. Then I just continue going around in that same motion. And what I want to point out here is the location of my hands. My hands are a long way away from that router bit. Now you can't see the bit, but I'm still pushing in the correct direction. And this is going quite smoothly. It's making a real nice clean cut. It's important to note that the correct direction to push across the bit is going to be a function of where the workpiece is relative to the router bit. But in any case, you always move against the direction of the spin. So here I'm going to be making my cut along the side of the router bit instead of approaching at it from the bottom. I'm kind of coming at it from an angle, but I'm still pushing into the bit against the direction of the spin. Now I'm going to cut a rabbet into a ring using this rabbeting bit. In addition to noticing the direction that the bit is spinning and the direction that I'm feeding my ring into the rabbeting bit, notice where I'm standing. I'm standing at the front of the router table where I can easily see and orient myself to the arrow on the router table indicating the direction that the router is spinning in, and I'm also very close to the emergency off switch. My hands are too close for comfort, and I really should be using a push block here. Now I'm going to cut a rabbet on the inside of this ring. The red arrow indicates the direction that the bit is spinning, and the blue arrow indicates the direction that I'm feeding the workpiece into the bit. Nothing here is different, only things are a little bit weird and awkward because I'm working on the inside of the workpiece. Notice that my hands are also way too close to the bit and that my hands are in the way of the camera getting a good clear shot at what I'm doing, which ultimately caused the source of my problem because I started worrying about how to get the camera shot perfect instead of worrying about how to safely operate the router. When you're operating one of these things, you really don't want to divide your attention amongst multiple tasks.
Hope you're enjoying this router safety video. I don't do a lot of safety videos on my channel. I mostly do projects on my channel based around audio, car audio, home audio. I build my own speakers. I do my own installation in my own vehicles. And it's just a hobby that I enjoy. So I thought I would share my hobby with you here on YouTube. If you enjoy this kind of hobby and if you enjoy these videos, I would appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Let's get back to the fun stuff.
In case you're wondering what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to resize this ring. I cut this ring out. It was a little bit too large, and so I used the rabbeting bit followed by a flush trim bit to make it a size smaller. And what I want to point out to you before I start making my cut is where I'm standing. I'm standing in the wrong place. I'm no longer at the front of the router table. I've moved so I can keep my hands and fingers out of the shot. But I'm no longer near the safety shutoff switch, and I'm no longer in a position where I can easily just look at the indicator on the router and orient myself and kind of mentally remind myself to spin into the bit instead of with the bit. So I take this thing and I push it up against the bit, and the bit grabs immediately, and that made me a little bit more disoriented, and so I had a harder time concentrating. So it took a second time, and then a third time of spinning it the wrong direction, and a fourth time of going at it the wrong direction before I realized that I'd been spinning the bit in the wrong direction. Then I started spinning the bit in the correct direction, and you can see the difference. It just feeds through with no problem whatsoever, smooth and as easy as can be. Until I get to close to the end of my cut when the bearing came off of the router bit, which may be because I was banging up against the bit with this ring earlier. I'm not sure if it was just loose or if I managed to knock it loose with my improper router usage. And let's just get a few slow motion shots here, and you can see just how close my fingers were to the bit. Now, the good news is I was very deliberately trying to keep my fingers away because I wanted to keep my fingers out of the shot as much as possible. Had I been doing what I had been doing before in this video, where I had my fingers very close to that rabbiting bit, I would have had a finger in a router bit. And I got really close to injuring myself. And I'm going to tell you something, right? That was stupid. I was being stupid. But close calls like that, where you don't get hurt, are the absolute best teachers because, one, you don't get hurt. And two, you kind of learn and remember and don't make those mistakes again. So y'all be safe out there. Try not to hurt yourself when you're out there doing your hobbies. You want to keep all your fingers. Thank you so much for watching my video. Hope that you enjoyed it. Hope that you'll give me a subscribe and a like and stick around for some more projects. Thank you for watching.